He made a fair move. Screaming about it can't help you.
Let him have it. It's not wise to upset a Wookiee.
But, sir, nobody worries about upsetting a droid.
It's because a droid don't pull people's arms out of their sockets when they lose. Wookiees are known to do that.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. Yesterday, Dylan and I talked about our top 5 DC comic issues of 2019. Today, we're going to finish it up with our top 5 DC comic series of 2019. Dylan, you ready for this, buddy?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So yesterday, I went first. So let me give my honorable mentions, and you can go first today. The best DC comics didn't quite make my top 5. I had the Terrifics, Batman and the Outsiders, The Silencer, and Batman Last Night on Earth.
Man, I forgot all about Silencer.
It's a good series, but they kept changing the artist. That's the only reason it didn't make the top 5.
Okay.
I don't like that. I like consistent art.
I agree.
All right, Dylan. What's your number 5 series of 2019?
My number 5 was Shazam from Geoff Johns. So it suffered delays as well, like a lot of Geoff Johns books, but it was still good. And I didn't expect to like it as much as I did because I was never the biggest Captain Marvel fan. I always liked him, but especially the Marvel family, I felt they take away from what's special about Captain Marvel himself, and they're heavily involved in this book. But I actually liked how Johns implemented them in this. And the first story arc is like sort of fantasy-esque because they go to this, like the magic lands, and you have all these different areas. Like you have this, I don't remember the specific names of them, but one's called like the Candy Land, where like it's all for kids. And it turns out there's like a dictator there that's like 12 years old, but actually he's like hundreds of years old. He just doesn't age. And he takes kids in like that are abused or whatever. You know, they don't like their parents. So they come to him. And then once they turn into adults or teenagers, he puts them as slaves in his candy factory. And so the Shazam family has to fight him. And then there's other lands, like there's tech lands that kind of remind me of like Ready Player One and stuff. It's really cool. And it just was a lot better than I expected it to be. It's a solid series.
Yeah, it's one of always the things you have to be wary about when a movie's going to come out and all of a sudden they launch like a comic book series to a couple months beforehand. You're like, maybe they didn't really put a lot of effort in it, but when you got Geoff Johns on it, you know the writing's going to be quality, and he loves the character. So,
yeah, and also it picks up where his New 52 backup Justice League story for Shazam left off. So that one left off with like Mr. Mind at the end coming to what's his name, Dr. Savannah. He comes to him, and then it ends, and we get nothing for years on that. And now it's picking up where that left off. So as well, if you're wanting a sequel to that, you get that in the series.
Oh, that's perfect. All right, so my number 5 is going to be coming from DC Black Label. Originally, it would have been Batman Last Night on Earth. I don't think Snyder quite hit the landing on that one. I think the book started out really strong and then didn't end quite as strong. So my number 5 is also going to be Black Label, but it's The Last God from Philip Kennedy Johnson and Riccardo Federici. I love fantasy storytelling, Lord of the Rings, Sword of Shannara, all that kind of stuff. And The Last God just has that feel of the next like big fantasy kind of story. I think it's going to translate well to other mediums. And I think the idea to tell the 2 concurrent quests that are going on 30 years out of sequence with each other, so you can learn what went wrong the first time and how they're going to fix it the second time, I just think is a great idea, and I just love the comic.
Yeah, that's something I'm going to have to pick up and trade. I've heard you gush about before, and it looks cool. It's just they never have any issues at my shop, so I'm going to have to pick it up and trade and check it out because it does look very intriguing.
Well, it's a good thing if they don't have issues. That means, maybe the demand was higher than they anticipated.
I hope so. It looks that way.
Mm-hmm. All right, so what's your number 4 comic series of 2019?
Number 4 is Green Lantern from Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp. Liam Sharp's art is great. I love it. It's so cool looking and funky and freaky, and like just it fits this weird book that they've got going on with Grant Morrison. So it doesn't hold a candle to Geoff Johns' run at all. So don't go in expecting that. But it's just a weird, freaky Silver Age-esque book. So something you'd expect from Grant Morrison. It is all over the place and weird. Like that's the best way to describe this book is weird, but I love it. Like how crazy it is. And some of the jokes in there are great. And just the way, I also love the way Grant Morrison writes Hal Jordan and the different lanterns that we see in there. Like Liam Sharp really gets to go all over the place with a different type of lanterns. There's that one lantern that has the volcano head, and it's just great. And the stories are really interesting. They're just like so out of it, like an LSD trip sort of a book, and I love it. It's just a lot of fun. And sadly, season 1 ended, and they're doing this weird season thing. I don't like that. That aspect of it is stupid, but the series itself is pretty good and worth checking out.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the season thing, because I was about to say I hate that they're trying to release these like Netflix and seasons and stuff like that. They just want to reset it to issue 1, whatever. It is a really weird comic. I think the villain in the very first issue was like a giant spider pirate.
Yeah.
And the art on it is for me, the big seller is the art. I think Liam Sharp's art in the Green Lantern actually outshines Grant Morrison's really strange storytelling, but he does some of the craziest stuff that I've ever seen. And you can tell there are no chains on Liam Sharp with the Green Lantern, because he is doing some of the most mind-bending art I've ever seen.
Yeah, he absolutely kills it every issue. He's also really cool on Twitter. If you ever want to talk to him, like he'll speak to fans and stuff. He's a really cool guy. Yep,
I agree on that one. He's a good follow. So my number 4 is going to be Freedom Fighters from Robert Venditti and Eddie Barrows. I think Eddie Barrows used to be like a Superman artist, right?
For a little bit, and then he was Nightwing on New 52. But pre-New 52, he was on Superman.
Yeah, I wasn't really familiar with his art, but man, he really brings it. He has some of the most iconic looking, like patriotic American iconography I've seen in comics in years. Like, people, you're not allowed to put stuff like the graves of the freedom of speech and freedom right to bear arms and stuff, while Uncle Sam's walking through the cemetery, and just the art alone is amazing. But Robert Venditti really has taken this opportunity. When I read that DC Comics were doing an alternate universe, or Earth X, where the Nazis won and are in charge, I don't know. And then I was like, well, if it's Robert Venditti, I'll give it a shot. And man, he's really done a lot of great things, and he's basically brought a new generation of heroes into those costumes on the Freedom Fighters team. And it's really, really excellent writing. In Adolf Hitler's grandson, I guess, ends up being the big bad guy in this, as well as Overman, which is an evil version of Superman. And just an excellent read. Can't recommend it high enough. One of my big unexpected delights for the year.
I'll need to check it out when it comes in trade, because I do like Venditti and Barrows. I was wondering what happened with Barrows, because last time I read him was in New 52 Nightwing with Kyle Higgins, and he did a great job on that. And then I never really saw him again. He just kind of, I don't know where he went, but now he's on Freedom Fighter, so that's cool to know.
Yeah, he does some great work too, especially if you like seeing Uncle Sam and some patriotic poses and some stuff that you won't see anywhere else. You'll see it in Freedom Fighter, shockingly.
All right, I'll definitely check it out.
All right, so what's your number 3 comic series?
My number 3 is Deceased. Now, this series surprised me a lot, because I'm not the biggest fan of Tom Taylor. I know a lot of people like his Injustice series. I think that series is pretty bad, and also, generally speaking, if you get put on a video game tie-in comic, that's not the best thing to get put on, and so he's not exactly my favorite writer. But with this, he nailed it. He did a great job. If they ever bring Green Arrow back, I want him to write Green Arrow. I think he's got a great voice for the character, and he does just a great job with this series, this apocalyptic event, to where it's just involving more Darkseid and the anti-life equation, and that's basically how the whole zombie thing happens. It's all your favorite heroes being zombified, sort of like Marvel Zombies, except I think it's handled better here than Marvel Zombies. The only downfall of the book is the art is very mediocre. It's nothing that's fun to look at. It's just kind of meh, which sucks, because that's half of comic books. But the storytelling, I'd say, is worth it, and seeing what happens issue to issue is great. And the first issue had my heart pumping to where I was turning the page, waiting to see what happened, because some characters I thought were going to die, and I didn't know if they were or not, because that's the fun of Elseworlds. You're like, oh, are they going to die? Are they okay? And then you just get to the next issue, and you don't get a lot in mainstream in continuity comics, where you actually think something bad's going to happen to your favorite characters. But you get that in this, and it's just a really good book, really solid. I'm excited for Unkillables next year. Yeah,
so this zombies in superhero comics kind of go together like peanut butter and jelly. People always buy them, but I don't think DC were expecting DCs to be quite the hit that it was, or I think the sequel would have already been here by now.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they expected it either. I thought it's just going to be a cash-in book. Like the first 2 issues would sell really well, and then after that it would dive off. But the entire series sold really well. Obviously, the variant covers helped because the variant covers were amazing, and the storytelling was actually really good. It was a good story that I wanted to know what happened each time it came out.
Awesome. Definitely on my to-do list before Unkillables comes out. So my number 3 comic series, DC comic series for 2019 is Batman TMNT number 3 from James Tynion IV and Freddie Williams II. I really enjoyed the first story that they did. I didn't really like the second one, so I came into the third iteration, the finale, not really expecting much. You know, Batman TMNT have some good crossovers and everything, but this weird turtle multiverse crossing over with the DC multiverse, and there's mixed versions of the turtles are actually Nightwings, and Joker has been mixed with the Shredder, and all of a sudden Batman's been raised by Splinter as his butler. You reading the first issue like, this is nuts, how's he gonna land this? And then you keep reading it, and next thing you know, like black and white Raphael is there, you know, from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You're like, this it just gets better and better. And the art from Freddie Williams II. He was born to be illustrating Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like his art on all these has been great. He also did a really great job on the Injustice versus Masters of the Universe book. But I cannot believe that dude does not have a main series where he's the primary artist. Totally underused.
Hopefully it gets something after this. But yeah, I read a little bit of the first Batman TMNT, and I really enjoyed it. I just never got around to checking out the rest. So yeah, it's good to know that it's still keeping on good, but the second one's not as good, you saying?
So basically the second one is they try to, you know, because in the first one, the Turtles come to Gotham, I believe. In the second one, Batman, you know, goes to New York. They just, it's the exact same thing, but they go the other way.
Yeah.
And it wasn't interesting, and it wasn't original. It did not work. But the third one absolutely nailed it.
I'll check
Best
it out.
one of the 3, in my opinion. All right. So we're on to you. What's your number 2 series?
My number 2 is Detective Comics. Ever since Peter Tomasi was put on that book, it has been amazing. There hasn't been a bad issue. There have been filler issues, but they've all been really good. Like, just everything about this book has been great. There hasn't been anything I've really just not enjoyed. The first story arc was really good, and Doug Mankey's art on it is just so gorgeous. And you get to see some horrifying images that Peter Tomasi gave Doug Mankey to play around with, which was really cool. And like we mentioned in our top 5 issues, we both had the same number 5, which was Detective Comics issue 1008. So that one shot with Joker. And just, man, everything he's been doing. He even made You're the Villain good, which not very many people have been able to do that. The whole Mr. Freeze arc was amazing, seeing what he did with Nora. And he also made You're the Villain tie-in with that. Makes sense because Lex comes with a gift to Mr. Freeze, say, hey, I have this thing that can restore Nora and bring her back, so you can actually have your wife back. But then it's sort of a play because that makes her just super aggressive and evil. So now Mr. Freeze and Batman have to team up to take on Nora Freeze, and it's just fantastic. There's not really a bad thing I can say about this book. The rotating cast of artists is great as well. Doug Mankey is obviously my favorite. Brad Walker does a great job as well. And it's just really, really solid. And if you're not reading it, you need to be. I would say it's one of the must-read books at DC right now.
So I'm so glad you brought up Brad Walker. I had no idea who he was, and I was reading, I believe was it Arkham Knight?
Yeah, Arkham Knight was the first one he was on.
Yeah, and I was reading, I was like, man, this dude draws a great Batman. I was like, this is really well illustrated. And so ever since then, my eye is out. If I see Brad Walker's on a comic book, I figure it's going to be illustrated very well. And I think he did the Death of Superman Dark Multiverse comic, which is just phenomenal. So I'm really glad I discovered that artist. There's not enough great artists out there, and Brad Walker is definitely one of them. And Detective Comics showed me that. I was very excited for it.
Yeah, it's a great series. I love the way he draws Batman eyes specifically. Like, it's so distinct and looks so cool.
Mm-hmm. All right. So my number 2 series for 2019 is Hawkman from Robert Venditti and Brian Hitch. This is Robert Venditti's second appearance on my list. I love what he did with Hawkman. And I know you said earlier you liked the character relationships. You know, Hawkman has a long-standing friendship with the Atom. And there's a great issue in here where he goes and visits the microverse, and you see that friendship, and it's just the way that the two interact with each other is just one of my favorite issues of the year. Probably should have been on my top 5, but Hawkman 12 was even better. But it's just such a great journey when he's tying all these histories of Hawkman together with Carter Hall and Carter All, and Thanagarian history and Kryptonian history and Earth history, and all into one character. And you realize that he reincarnates across space and time. And then when you find out the purpose for his mission and what has happened to him, he's essentially a fallen angel that brought death to countless number of people on worlds, and he's on a mission to save as many lives as he took, and just a great motivation for a character, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, Hawkman's been amazing from what I read. I just read some of the first volume. It's been really good. Such a solid character, a solid book. Venditti's always great on everything he's been on since Hal Jordan the Green Lantern Corps, at least from what I've read. He's done a fantastic job, and giving Hawkman a great story to where he hasn't had so much in the past. Besides, like I said before, a Geoff Johns run, he hasn't gotten too much respect from DC. They had the whole Savage Hawkman thing in the New 52, which is kind of weird, but this is really cool and giving him a bit more of the limelight. I'm glad that they decided to bank on Hawkman and give him a solo series.
You know, and also Brian Hitch, he's kind of hit or miss for me, but he was kind of born to draw Hawkman like aerial combat scenes. Like I know in the very first issue when he's fighting like the giant gorilla thing, and
yeah,
it's just man, this is his niche. It's too bad he's illustrating Batman's grave right now.
Yeah, when stuff's in motion, he does a good job. It's just when there's like static images, that's where it's like it doesn't look too great.
Mm-hmm. So I have a feeling that you and I have the exact same comic series for number 1.
Would that be Doomsday Clock?
Yes, from Geoff Johns and Gary Frank. How did I know that we were both going to have this series?
What I thought. It's because it's universally the best. Just you got it. If you don't have Doomsday Clock number 1, you're wrong. But it's such a good series. Like, and seeing all the callbacks. How many issues were even released? I think 9 through 12 were released this year. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so not too many issues.
Kind of became maybe a quarterly title.
Still. Great series, seeing all the callbacks. I'm excited to go back and read all 12 issues at once. But I remember in the beginning being like, what do Mime and Marionette have to do with anything? Because you had that part where Dr. Manhattan saved their child because he, spared her when she was pregnant with the child because, like, that kid's going to be important to me, and then just left. And I'm like, what does that mean? And then at number 12, we get that answer. And like we talked about the other day, number 10 is the peak of the series. It explains so much with the metaverse, and it really does a good job at putting the DC universe in perspective of how it all works and how it's all behind Superman. And every time he changes, the whole, not just their universe, but the whole multiverse changes. And I love seeing that. Geoff Johns does a great job of explaining how this DC metaverse works. And Gary Frank, of course, just fantastic. Never does a bad job. Even though he was part of the delays, it's well worth the wait with how good his art is. And Geoff Johns and Gary Frank, I don't know if there's a better creative team alive. Like, they are just fantastic. And Doomsday Clock lived up to the hype. You're doing a Watchmen sequel mixed with DC characters. Like, how does that live up to the hype? Like, I feel like it's an impossible task, and Geoff Johns and Gary Frank did it. But man, it's so good. And if you have not read it, you should check it out.
Yeah, because when it was announced, the buildup is there's going to be a confrontation between Dr. Manhattan and Superman. It's a slow burn. When you finally get there, it's not really a confrontation, but you don't even care because the resolution is so impactful when you see, because Dr. Manhattan from the whole time has said either Superman kills me or I kill the universe.
Yeah,
I was like, it's got to be. But when the confrontation finally happens and you get the resolution, like, man, that's how you do it, man.
Yeah,
it's reverential to the characters and the power of Superman and the hope that he brings to everything, and that's why he is the center of a hope-filled DC universe.
Yeah, it's such a good premise where Dr. Manhattan comes in and he's like, I don't remember anything after this date. He's like, I can always be omnipresent all across time, but this date everything goes black and I don't know why. He's like, so clearly it must mean either Superman kills me or I destroy the universe, because he's been poking and prodding with the DC universe since New 52. We learned he was the one behind New 52. And then he caused DC Rebirth as well. And the whole thing was he's basically this virus infecting the DC universe. And so this universe releases its greatest antibody, Superman. So they're on this collision course, and then we finally get to see what happens in issue 12. It's just such a satisfying conclusion. Like, it doesn't ever let you down. Geoff Johns nails it.
Yeah, so if you haven't read Doomsday Clock, might as well wait for the trade, I guess, now. But it's going to read better, in one full reading. The delays did suck, and it did take away from some of the enjoyment. It's harder to pick up a comic 3 months after the last issue was released. I can't remember exactly what happened, but Doomsday Clock is that one series from DC where it's like, oh man, when's the next one? I gotta have it.
Yeah.
And thankfully, well, not thankfully, but we finally got the last issue. I wish it would go on forever, but you can't make a series like that ongoing.
Yeah. And I like how at the end we kind of get a blueprint from Geoff Johns about, hey, we know you guys are going to reboot, so here's some ideas. I love that.
Yeah, there's even a DC Marvel crossover idea in there.
Thor and Hulk. That'd be interesting. Doubt that'll ever happen, but that'd be cool to see.
So yeah, I totally agree with you on Doomsday Clock. Dylan, thank you so much for joining me today and talking about the best DC comics of 2019. Much appreciated, and I'll talk to you later, my friend.
Thanks for having me on, man.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.